This is a Renew original recording. Hello and welcome to Believe in People, a two-time Radio Academy Award nominated and British Podcast Award-winning series about all things addiction, recovery and stigma. My name is Matthew Butler and I'm your host, or as I like to say, your facilitator. In this episode I speak with Henry, also known as Zen Hen, whose story of personal transformation is as compelling as it is relatable. Raised in a large public-facing family where perception mattered, Henry reflects on the early drinking culture of the 1990s, growing up in a household where alcohol was ever present, if not explicitly encouraged. From sneaking alcopops at age 12 to becoming the life and soul of social gatherings, his identity became entangled in performance, pressure, and people-pleasing. Alcohol soon intertwined with emotional eating, stress, and self-worth, especially as he navigated adulthood with the confines of a family business. His turning point came not from crisis, but from clarity, prompted by love, therapy, and a brutally honest sleep specialist who changed the course of his life. Quitting alcohol led to a shedding of 7 stone, restoring his health and marriage, and redefining purpose. Now the founder of Alcohol Free, a growing sober social movement based in Yorkshire, England, Henry uses his platform to destigmatise sobriety, promote sustainable lifestyle change, and remind others that recovery doesn't require rock bottom. I begin my conversation with Henry by asking about his early relationship with alcohol and what he thinks it was really about.
It started relatively young. I mean, not alarmingly to the point it was a problem or anything. I was just surrounded by it, but it was the 90s. You know what I mean? You had Britpop. It was just a ladette culture. It was all of that, and you had parties and etc. Like dinner parties, and we were just around. And I had a big family, so there was lots of cousins, nieces, nephews, just. So there was always something going on, and drinking wasn't necessarily encouraged at all. But if the older we got, of course, if you're having a meal or something, you might be allowed a beer. But I would say the first time really I dabbled into sort of drinking was probably my sister had a party, and there was maybe 12, I think it was, and it was just Alcopops. Yeah. You know, me and my mates just.
WKD Blues.
I think Smirnoff Ice, Bacardi Breezer, you know what I mean?
Course,
so that was like the first time I had more than one, whereas before I'd had a few sips of Baileys or something like that. But really that was kind of like, okay, well, I'm seeing all these older people try it, and my sister was maybe 16, so even that, like, you deem fairly young. But again, around 16 in UK culture, it's kind of allowed in a way, rightly or wrongly. That's just the way it was. And so yeah, I mean, we had a fair few, and I probably felt a little bit tipsy, but you know, nothing horrendous. And then that just kind of, then you have, I don't know, you go to the park and you get someone to get you some White Lightning or whatever. And again, it's honestly at the time it just seemed like harmless fun, just mates being mates, and just, I don't know, just doing what you saw everyone else doing, so you didn't see it as an issue. And then I remember again I went on a basically ski trip. And we were due to go bowling. So we had a maybe 2 or 3 hour window, like a slot, and we just thought, one of the lads, he was a bit older, so I think we were 14 at the time, but he looked about 16. I don't know if the age is 16, and I think we were in Italy. So anyway, he got served. So we got do you remember the old Stubby Stellas?
Yeah. That was, funny enough, that was my first ever drink, was a Stubby Stella.
There you go. And I don't know if they were cheap. I mean, that was the old formula as well, so these were strong. Yeah. Anyway, so we had a few of those, and we were feeling a bit, and bear in mind, we were meant to be going bowling after. So what happened was, once we'd had all these drinks, we were drinking them in like a car park. And we went to this big supermarket. There was, I think, 3 or 4 of us. Yeah. And then we went to a supermarket, and we were conscious we smelled a bit of beer. Yeah. So we got some Axe spray or whatever it is, or Lynx, and then we sprayed that. But I remember spraying my face with it because I was so worried about smelling. And then I was crunching Tic Tacs like no one's business. I was just chomping away at them. So as we were coming down these steps, I turned around, and my mate's got this bottle of vodka, and he's like, "Hey," and we turn around and we think he's the best. We're like, oh my God, what a legend. Because I mean,
what a legend, of course.
I was like, what a hero. We didn't think about the consequences. We weren't thinking, all right, we've got half an hour now until we need to go bowling. So we just swug away. And I remember one of my mates got those happy hippos, you know, those kind things. I was so pissed, and so we were swigging, and then one of them threw up, and I was like, "Hey, you can see a happy hippo swimming or whatever." Anyway, I was rolling in this flower bed, all stuff was kicking off. Luckily, my friend, who's actually still a really good friend, my best friend now actually, he he seemed to be a bit more sensible at the time. He grabbed the bottle and chucked it, smashed it. He was like, nah, we've had enough. I was fuming. I was really, I was just angry because, you know, at the time I was drunk and I've never been drunk. So you're not thinking logically. And if it wasn't for him, I mean, God knows where I would have ended up. So you can imagine when the teachers found me, they weren't best pleased. And I remember briefly, they walked me up, you know, somewhere and I had to drink from this well or whatever, trying to sober up. So that was bad. I got told I'd never go on a school trip again or whatever. But I have to say, what happened was I never heard anything since because I was under their supervision.
Of course, yeah.
So you can imagine
they don't want to talk about it. They want to try and hard that it even happened.
It never got back to the headmistress.
Of course, yeah.
So in a way, I'm thinking I got off scot-free. It's amazing. I got grounded for a little bit when I got home, but you know, but again, rightly so. You know, otherwise I would not have known it was an issue, and if I kept getting away with it. So yeah, my first hangover, and that was a strong hangover. I was ill, and we were skiing with school, and I said I want to stay in bed, and the teacher was like, "Absolutely not, you're coming up." And I remember sat there just eating snow, hoping it'd make me feel better. So that was my first real sort of dabble into it, and then you know I remember going to a party. They had the alcohol-free punch. I remember basically getting some vodka and spiking that, and this was a 16. So technically. The word spiking sounds horrible.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
like I wasn't doing it in like you know. I wanted everyone to have a good time,
course,
but technically I spiked the party. So that was kind of my dabble into it, and then it was just I was that guy. I was that guy who brought the fun, who would bring the beers, etc. Yeah.
So being that life and soul of the party, what was the? I suppose was that a persona that you felt there was a pressure to maintain after that? Because talking about that trip, your mate being an absolute legend with a vodka. And I can relate to everything you're saying. Being the same age as yourself, I understand what that was like and living up to that, I suppose, that mantra. Do you know, there's almost that expectation to be that person in front of people. Was that something that you was trying to maintain even when it wasn't, I suppose, serving you as an individual yourself?
My whole life, honestly, because it started at a young age. I kind of felt like, okay, I've got this name for myself now. I had older brothers, older sisters. I gave off the impression I can handle my drink. I can get who needs booze. I can get booze. I've got older siblings. I would always find a way of making it happen. And so, yeah, definitely. And then when it came to, being the life and soul, I would always perform. And I've seen certain things. I think, I've heard other people on podcasts, etc., say, by doing that, I look at it as who was I trying to impress at home, etc. Because there were so many of us. I think I was just trying to be seen. Yeah, you know what I mean. There were so many siblings, so many family members. So I think that was my way of saying, "Hey, I'm here." Yeah. And then so I would do daft things like I would do self-deprecating things just to make people laugh. Some people would laugh with, but some people would laugh at. But I would take the laughing with and just run with it. Yeah. So, but afterwards, I'd be like, okay, I've had my fun now. I'm like, leave me alone. But if I was quiet at a party, people would go, "What's wrong with you?" I couldn't, and I remember saying this many times. I couldn't sit in the corner and just be. I had to be doing something. I had to be making people laugh and whatever. And sometimes I just didn't want to. So I felt from a very young age that was, I was trying to be seen, and and I paid the price, I guess.
And it's interesting that you acknowledge that, because a lot of people don't. I think, that sort of acting up, acting out, it is just about being seen, isn't it? I think sometimes it's quite easy to feel like you're lost in the shuffle, and we see it all the time with behavioural issues in children. Like sometimes the reason why they're behaving that way is because maybe they're just not getting enough attention, and it can transcend into teenage years, into adulthood, and it can just go on and on. But it's interesting that you've recognised that is part of the reason why you was doing what you was doing.
I would say, to tell you the truth, it was my wife who she recognised it. I knew it was a thing. Yeah. But once we went to this like rugby social, I don't play rugby anymore, but a friend did, and they invited us. And she'd never really met these people before, and anyway, so she turned around, and here I am running into one of these industrial bins, head first, legs dangling out. I come in covered in beer juice and all whatever. I mean, I'm in a bin. Anyway, she looks at me, she goes, "What are you doing? Yeah. Like, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, it's funny, like, it's a laugh, innit? It's rugby, blah, blah, blah." And she went, "Who are you doing that for? I'm not impressed." Like, And she wasn't my wife at the time. We'd been together maybe a few months this time. And I was, you know, you get that whole saying, oh, you're punching or whatever. I heard that a lot. So I'm thinking, I've got a good one here. I need to sort of, but again, I was acting up because that's what everyone expected of me. So she planted that seed. She was like, you don't need to try so hard to impress everyone. You know, you are good enough as you are. And I guess I'd really never heard that before.
Yeah.
So it was quite a defining moment for me, really, to think, okay, well, you know, you can just be at a party. You can just stand next to me and just be yourself because I love you for who you are. And if these people don't, that's on them.
And that's, again, because obviously, like I say, been lost in the shuffle, a large family, but here you are with the undivided attention of someone that you're not having to do those things that you think you need to do.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's like that penny drop moment for you to be able to see that. I suppose, obviously, you know, how old are you? 34 now?
34, yeah.
What age did you give up drinking?
So it was October 23. So yeah, I was 2023. So I was 33.
Okay.
So I'm due to be 35 soon.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't intend to give up drinking. What happened was friends, well, basically, me and my wife now, we eloped in Nashville. We didn't tell anyone. We just went there, got married, just the two of us. Because again, you know, I found that person with me having such a big family, there's dynamics, etc. I just didn't want to hassle. It's meant to be about you. Yeah. So we just went there, did it, told them, you know, what, be mad about it for a little bit, get over it, you know. Yeah. And they were all great about it. They obviously welcomed her to the family, and they all knew her very well. However, what that meant is I didn't have a stag do. Okay. Yeah. So my mates were very keen to give me a stag do. We didn't call it a stag, but I still got stitched up and had to wear a daft outfit and all that. Yeah. So I had basically, I'd left my job of 17 years. So I was kind of like, the stag do fell after that, and this was like my last hurrah, really. And so I went out with a bang, you know, like, but I felt horrendous afterwards. But I'd already, so as part of kind of why I stopped, my older brother, he's sober as well. Okay. So I saw he was, you know, thriving as well, and, you know, doing really well at work. And I actually worked with my brother at the family business, and I decided to leave that business because he had a chat with me, and he just said, look, we're here 75% of our lives really at work. You're going to want to love it. You're going to have to love it. And that was, again, another penny drop. I was like, I don't love this. I'm not on the right path here. So I decided to leave. And my dad, my stepmom, my brother, you know, they're all there. But they were so supportive because my dad just said, your happiness comes first. As much as I thought that was my plan, I had a nice house, nice car, you know, etc. Everything you think would make you happy. But I wasn't. The only thing I had really to keep me going was my wife. So I decided to leave then, and then everyone was going, well, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Well, what's your plan? Don't know. Luckily, I'd saved enough to be able to survive for a bit. And then I decided to go to Thailand. I went to Thailand for 4 weeks, and again, that would help me on my sobriety. I just went to like a fitness retreat. So I did that, but when I rocked up, people were drinking beers. They were having cigs on the balcony. I'm like, I thought this was a retreat. It wasn't like, it was a proper cheap and cheerful retreat. And they were like, is this allowed? They were like, it's not prison. You can do what you like. We're all adults here. Yeah. So what that taught me was self-control. So from then, I came back. I didn't drink out there. And then I carried on. And I just started to see the benefits. I started to feel better. And so by that point, it was sort of January by the time I came back. And I'd lost, I don't know, let's say just under 2 stone. And I felt good. I'm like, why would I go back? And this whole performing, I felt I was being myself, and people were actually okay with it. Because when I was out on the retreat, these people don't know anything about me. They don't know my family. They don't know my background. I could finally be myself and be accepted. So that kind of gave me the confidence. Okay, well, maybe it planted the seed. Maybe this is the problem. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how it happened. But it was never a rock bottom. I need to make a change. It just gradually fell into place. So
you talked about, obviously, you know, acting out, and, you know, the sort of incident, the story of you jumping into the bin. You've talked about losing weight. At what point, or I guess, what were the warning signs when you started to realise that your relationship with alcohol had become unhealthy? Was it just around the situations that you find yourself in, the acting out, or was there physical things that you found about drinking before you needed to, like, this isn't healthy behaviour.
Yeah, the physical side. I mean, again, I think all of my journey, and, you know, of course she's going to be listening, but a lot of it does, you know, I've become such a better person because of my wife.
Yeah.
Sorry. So basically...
Are you getting teary there talking about your wife? Not wrong with that. That's
no,
nice.
No.
That's
I shouldn't
lovely.
apologise.
Don't apologise for it. That's lovely.
I'm just worried my contacts fall out. So basically, what happened was when it was really becoming a problem, and this was so I left my job in sort of October. In about, I think it was May time. So we'd been married. Oh no, so it was May, June, I think it was. Been married in April, May, June, and whilst around this sort of time, me and my wife were sleeping apart. We'd only been like, so we kind of didn't really have the honeymoon phase, because even when we were in Nashville, she was sleeping on the sofa or I was sleeping on the sofa, because what was happening is I was snoring so bad.
Oh, okay.
So all this weight was just sat on my throat. So basically, I didn't know what it was. Like, our family was snorers. Okay, so I just thought it was a hereditary thing. So everyone was like, why don't you go to a sleep apnea specialist? Come on, you know, go and do it. Your dad's done it, blah, blah, blah. It might be dangerous. So anyway, I eventually managed to get in. As soon as I walked through the door, this guy just looked at me and went, you ain't got sleep apnea, mate. I went, well, how do you know? Like, he went, you just need to lose some weight. He went, all of that is sat round your neck. So he went, you know, and he went, I know what you're going to say. When you were 16, you were fit and you played rugby, He went, it doesn't matter. He was like, you lose some weight, trust me, it'll get better. And I was like, what are the other options?
Well, without doing that, how can I solve this problem?
So he said, he went, well, you could do surgery. It's a bit invasive, but you can do surgery. I would not advise it because the recovery is horrendous.
Of course, yeah.
He went, there are mouth guards out there. So I was like, so in my head, I'm just thinking, mouth guard.
Yeah, true.
So I bought a mouth guard, didn't even get out the box.
No.
So that was where my head was then. So, and also, when I got back, so I was going through all my previous texts. So I'm in touch with my old PT. And this was a PT I had like back in lockdown or whatever. And then I had another PT in 2023, similar sort of time. I was going through my texts to them just to see what my excuses were. And it was, hey, man, I've overindulged in America. I feel terrible. You know, I want to get back on track. I really need your help. Or, you know, the stuff.
The messages that they probably get.
All the time, like, yeah, here we go again. He'll come for a week and then he'll sack it off. So it was really interesting. I don't recognize that person anymore. But when I'm putting my message out there, trying to obviously help people if they want sobriety or weight loss, because that's all I'm doing. I'm not earning anything from it. I just want to influence from a distance, you know what I mean? I want them to maybe take a bit of a nugget of information and go, okay, I see myself in that. Yeah. But when I'm reading these messages, I'm thinking, I wasn't ready. You know, you can lead the horse to the water, you can't make it drink. And I was thinking, my mindset, something had to give, something had to switch. And so the main thing, the catalyst moment was getting better for my wife. It wasn't straight away though. You know, because booze. It was, okay, well, I was prioritizing, because I didn't see booze as the issue in all of this. I just thought it was, you know, I just ate a lot. Yeah.
Because that's it. I think obviously the misconception of how many calories are actually in alcoholic drinks as well. Do you know? I think that's the thing that always surprised me when I first started working in this sector, was like a glass of wine is the equivalent to a sugar donut, and it was little facts of information that way. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
it is mental. And so another thing, what teaches you about that is, well, if you decide to go to it, is Slimming World. Yeah. So I went to Slimming World. This was, I don't know, in 2022 or something. This is something I've never mentioned before, actually. So I went to Slimming World, right? And what they say is, on the first week, make sure you're, you know, a little bit heavier. They joke and say put some weights in your pockets and all that sort of stuff.
Just so you can see some progress after
which I think is such a backwards sort of mindset anyway. However, I had a really good week. So I checked in my first week, I had a really good week. But they say do not, a few tips, you know, insider sort of stuff. Don't drink. Don't eat anything on the day. If you drink water, you're going to be fully bloated, and you're getting weighed at like 5 or 6 at night. So anyway, the whole day I didn't drink, I didn't eat. I hardly ate really during this week. I lost 11 pounds in a week. And they were like, that's amazing. You've already got your half a stone certificate. Well done. Like at the time, I'm sending WhatsApps to my parents like, hey, look at me, I'm making changes. And then I'm
making changes.
Look at me. So basically, but then I'm looking at it now thinking that is so backwards, because that's not sustainable.
No,
that's not healthy.
Sustainability in it is the big thing.
And when I was getting, I'm pretty certain, I was like, like just standing on this scale, so dehydrated, and then I was like sipping my tea afterwards and my free orange juice.
I'm doing so well.
So really, all of this kind of fell into place, really, and I would say the main catalyst, why I did it, how I did it, is for my wife, and it was to save our marriage, basically. And I think that doctor, and I will openly say this, he saved my marriage for a fact. But looking at it, he probably saved my life, because if I was on that same path, thinking it was okay, I don't know where I'd be now. I'd have many health implications, and 7 stone is a lot of weight to drop. That's the way I sort of explain it to people. I spoke to someone recently from America. They don't know what stones are.
Okay.
So I had to say in kilos, which is like just over 40 or so kilos.
I'm surprised with America it wasn't like you had to say I've lost like 2 washing machines worth of weight. Anything but the metric system is what the same.
So basically, I spell it out for her a little bit. I gave her a little helping hand. So I was like, do you know luggage? She was like, yeah. I was like, imagine 2 of those big luggage things. I was like, that's what I've lost. And when I explain it like that, in my head, I'm thinking that is bonkers. Yeah. So even simple things like getting out of a car in a tight parking space and all that, just certain things, it's made my life so much easier.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So your dad is well known, and he's obviously a respected businessman here in Hull. Do you think that growing up under that legacy influenced how you managed pressure and your relationship with alcohol as well?
Yeah, obviously, I'm always mindful of what I say and about the family, etc. I'm very fortunate the positions I've found myself because of my family and the privilege that I found myself as well. And I'll never detract from that. But what I found it was, and the pressure that it came with. So my dad's mantra, and it'll probably be on his gravestone, is it's the way it looks. It was always a thing. And it wasn't necessarily to keep us in check. It was just, it's the public's perception of us, because we're a very public facing company. So if I was in trouble at school, if it was anything, it would, you do that, you get in trouble. Mr. So-and-so is not going to put his house on the market or whatever. Yeah. So it was always that, just sort of be aware. Don't be a twat. You know what I mean? And it was, honestly... It's
an interesting mantra, don't it? Because I suppose, even just to go into that a little bit in context, like, you can't always give context to something. Like, it's quite easy to say, this happened because of this. And one thing that I often talk about on this podcast is things that explain behaviour but don't excuse behaviour. But sometimes you don't even get a chance to either explain or excuse. So when something does happen that is public-facing, it is the way it looks.
Unfortunately, I mean... It's got its pros and cons, because I think with his help, it made us good people. We were always kept in check and stuff, but I was very overly aware of the public's perception of me. I would try hard to fit in. I would make sure, again, being from a well-respected family business, etc., I'd always feel like I had to sort of, again, stay in a box to a certain degree. And as proud as I was to, help build the company, etc., 17 years is a long time, and you do become fond of it. You grow, connections with people, with family, and I've helped numerous people in the city, find their homes, etc. And and I will always. That's what really kept me going. But it was this pressure of, just don't fall out of line, because we've got a business to run here, and so I don't knock it. It's however, what it didn't allow me to do is really be fully expressive. It didn't allow me to be my own person, because I was always Henry of this business. So yeah, whereas now, so when I decided to leave the business, I went for therapy. I never had therapy before, but again, it was just something that I was quite open to, because I didn't want anything biased. I didn't want anyone, my friends, my wife, or anyone, to sort of lead me to a certain decision. So as I decided to leave the business, I went to a therapist, and, they're not a business advisor. They can't tell you exactly. But at the end, I just said, look, help me out here. Like, from what I've told you, do you think I'm making the right decision? And he said, again, he said the same thing. He went, I can't advise you, really. He went, but in the time that we've been speaking, in the hour and a half, you haven't said, I want to leave or anything. You've said about 10 times, I need to leave. So he said, if that's not telling, I don't know what is. Yeah. And he said, before what you need to realize is before you're you're anyone's son, anyone's uncle, anyone's, godfather, whatever it might be, you've got to be your own person. And from what I've gathered, you've not had an opportunity to be that. So yes, there's a lot of pressure on myself, or has been, but now I kind of feel like moving away from, I will always be proud to be who I am and the opportunities it's given me, but being able to move away from that and be my own person and do my own thing. I am going against the grain a little bit with what I'm doing. And I appreciate not everyone wants to hear it. However, they're not my audience. And, it's a bit like, Ricky Gervais. I don't know if you've ever seen that stint where, where he basically, there's a advert on a post saying free guitar lessons, and you can pull off the little tabs, and he comes along and he goes, rips off the tab and goes, I don't want free guitar lessons. It's like, well, it's not for you then. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And I'm pretty certain James Corden ripped that off as well, actually.
Yeah, so, I've heard it. I did see that.
Anyway, I'm not taking credit for this, by the way. I just want to make that very clear.
It's a story,
However, but it's true, though. It's not everyone's going to like it. And they do have an opportunity to either scroll on, unfollow, but I can finally say my message, help people, and not be bothered about the way it looks. And it's a freeing feeling. It's a liberating feeling, because I can finally feel like I'm being my own person. And unfortunately, that might be to the disliking of some family members and some friends. Well, sorry.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And it's something that, doing the job that I do, it's something we speak to people about. You can say, I'm a good son, I'm a good employee, I'm a good husband, I'm a good uncle. But all those things are what you are to other people. Who are you for you? And I think that's something that people need to really take the time to reflect on, is who are you for you? And I say this knowing full well that I don't do that myself. I know I'm a good husband, I know I'm a good dad, I know I'm a good employee. But sometimes when I think, who am I for me? It's a really difficult thing to actually think about, because I'm so lost in being those other things for other people. And it sounds like for yourself, you're dealing with that. As well as obviously being under public scrutiny as well, or the possibility of being under public scrutiny for those decisions and actions that you may make.
The possibility. You've nailed it. It's, no, as far as I'm concerned, with what I'm doing, it's all positive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help people. And by doing that, that's giving me that purpose, that thing that I felt was lacking, but it's all how it could be perceived. Nothing's happened, nothing. And if it does happen, cross that bridge when it comes to it. Yeah. But it's okay. Well, don't do this because it could be seen this way. Don't do that because it could be. It's like, well, it isn't. And whoever decides to see it negatively, that's on them. This isn't, I'm not going to sit in a box just because I'm worried about how it could look to someone. Most of what you do and what you say, that's yesterday's news. It will come and go. But if you can just plant a seed and help one person along the way, why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this entire podcast series, yes, it's had much success, but the origins is what we said. If we can just help just one person, then we're doing the job. So to help as many people as we are, and to have people like yourself who are hoping to help other people as well, it's this domino effect, it's this ripple effect, isn't it? Where it just moves on. Going back to obviously the demands of maintaining that certain image or living up to the family name, do you think alcohol played a part in that, in coping with that as well?
Yeah. So basically, it was, again, there were elements of the job I loved. As I said, I can romanticize about it, and
and we always do when we leave jobs, don't we? We always think they're not as bad as they used to be, exactly. Or it wasn't as, yeah.
So I was on the road a lot. I was in the car a lot. And so what would happen is I would go and see clients and meet them face to face and find out about their needs. Why do they want my services, etc. And I would ask them how they were. Why they're moving, what they're doing, No one's asking me about my day. No one's asking me how I am. How's your wife? Because, I'm just providing a service. Yeah. And I get it. It's the same if you go to a supermarket and someone behind the till or whatever, it's, however, what was happening is because I wasn't in the office, I was on the road. No, it was all a one-way thing. I was not involved in any of the camaraderie, or I didn't feel part of a team really. Yeah. So it's quite a lonely existence, to tell you the truth. So what would happen is it would be a high intensity appointment, in the car, house, and going along. And so when it came to it, I was drained, because what I was doing is, again, I'm putting on an act, it's sales, so you're putting on this mask, everything's good. I'm rocking out the car, right? I'm overweight. It's tough. I remember one client sat me in, they've just got back from Tenerife. They've got a holiday home there. And they were like, oh, shall we sit in here? I'm sat in this conservatory sweating my tits off. Honestly, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, this is a little comment. To be fair, it's got, obviously because I haven't having not met you when you was bigger, just when you had a little story, I was like, this doesn't sound. But then I've just had to reflect on that picture,
man. Like honestly, like, and I was like, so you lived in Cyprus, did you? You got acclimatized, didn't you? Yeah, good for you. Honestly, so I would feel so self-conscious about sweating and the amount of times I used to rip my trousers or whatever. I remember, honestly, I had to drive to Next, ripped my kegs, and I remember I had a clipboard, and I remember like turning around real swiftly just so they didn't see my nuts.
I'm trying to have a serious conversation. You're just putting that in my head.
So basically, we were serious, weren't we? It was. So I would live for the weekend basically, and what would happen is Friday pub. That was like. Honestly, I would live for it. If the sun was out, beer garden, yes, let's go. And that would be Friday. Would be sort of our. It was the ritual. And then Saturday, if you're feeling lucky, hair of the dog and whatever, or you've got something on, you might be off to a football game or something. But then it would be takeaway. Then it would be sleeping in on a Sunday, not really doing anything. Monday, you would drag yourself to work. Tuesday, okay. Wednesday, meh. All right. I might squeeze in a session. I might go to the gym, half-ass gym, just to say I've been, just to tick a box. Thursday, get a taste for it. It's almost the weekend. Quiz is on. Yeah, let's go. And then it was this ongoing cycle. So it wasn't so much booze, yes, the calories and the beers and stuff, but it's everything that came after. It was all, it was just the lethargicness. It was the takeaways, the indulgence. And I didn't realize at the time. So my relationship with food, and I've really delved into quite a few bits, really. So I went to therapy. I then also had hypnotherapy for my eating. Okay. Because I just thought, so a previous colleague of mine had it, and I thought, can only no harm in trying. Yeah. And we established I was an emotional eater. When I'm stressed, I eat. When I'm sad, I eat, etc. So I would find in between, I would do some fasting in between appointments. Like I wouldn't eat during the day. For some days, I just didn't fancy it, and no one was watching. You're not under anyone. I'd go to Coupland's and I would clean up. Right. So 6 cheese straws. I'd get the meal deal large. Yes, please. Honestly, and then I would get the large ham sandwich or whatever, then chocolate flapjack, and if they've got something else on offer like a gingerbread man, go on, whack it in.
Do that as well.
So I'd do that along with crisps and whatnot, and I'd go ham on all of that because no one was watching though. And then I'd get everything, all the crisps, everything, put it into the sandwich, the little Coupland sandwich bag, whack it in there, shove it in, I don't know, a bottle or something, and just hide it in the bin. Yeah. So no one's none the wiser. So if people see me get bigger, I'm wondering why. And I'm like, I don't know, I fast. I don't tell them about that off day I have. And it can make all the difference. So my weight and obviously in the food and the booze, it really had that knock-on effect when it came to boozing, because the boozing led to my bad relationship with food and the stress and etc. as well.
And is the stress sort of caused by, I guess, working for the family? I guess for me, like I'm coming to work now, I'm working for somebody else. I can leave work at 5 o'clock and sort of theoretically leave it there. I suppose with working for a family business, there must be an element where it's coming into your personal life a lot. I imagine like conversations with your family, work's going to pop up a lot more than maybe it would do had you been working for other people. And I guess that will just build almost like a constant, like I can 5 o'clock, clock off here, get in my car, have a bit of a deep breathe as I go home, and then I'm done. Don't talk about it until I come back the next day. Yeah. I suppose with yourself, is there an element of a constant stress there in your life? Because being part of the family, finishing work, but it doesn't really finish, does it? I imagine there's an element, it just goes on and on.
No,
and on.
My wife used to always get quite mad at me because I used to run the socials and I used to do all the reviews, etc. I used to react to them as opposed to I didn't write them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you have to be instant. You can't not. If someone leaves a review, good or bad, I think it's really important to respond to them straight away. So that could be any time. And I would get people leaving reviews or dropping messages on Facebook Messenger at daft times. And I just felt as a business, it was so important to be instant with it.
And you might not have that had it not been a family business.
No. So it was at my fingertips. There was no switch off. And admittedly, though, some might argue and go, boo-hoo you had to deal with a few instant messages or whatever. But what it also meant was there was this further sort of kind of scrutiny in a way. Like during lockdown, for instance, the whole market closed. We couldn't do anything. So I felt like a bit of a spare part, and my role was, going to houses and stuff. So, there's only so much social media you can do when you haven't got ongoing business. So I was trying my best to be creative with it. And I was there. So I was in lockdown on my own. Me and my wife weren't together at the time, but I just split up in a long-term relationship previously. So I think 2 months, and then we went into lockdown. So I was in lockdown on my own in this house. And it was a sad time, really sad time. And, but I did feel that time planted the seed as to, is this what I want? And because I had a lot of time to think, and I think a lot of people did, it put a lot of things into perspective. And there was no switch off really. And there was question marks over my involvement within the business. I think it was a bit like, well, what's Henry doing? What's he bringing to the table? I'm like, and I was, I'm quite honest. Like, it was a bit like, I'm happy to help. Like, what do you need me to do? And it was more of a, we need you to be proactive and, look for things to do. And unfortunately, that's not the way I work.
Yeah. And it comes back to that, again, that constantly having to prove yourself and justify some level of self-worth, and like you said, into maybe a job that you don't necessarily feel that you want to do, but are there because out of necessity of family business, kind of feeling like you have to do. I can imagine that being really conflicting almost mentally to navigate that and deal with that.
Yeah, it is. And it was. But I never... It was only till recently I spoke to my sister about it, and she was like, well, I did tell you not to do it. I was like, tell me what not to do what? She went, not to join the business. So bear in mind, when I was like, 17 or whatever, she was like, when I told her, and she was, 14, 13 at the time, she was like, don't do that. That's not you. I'm like, no, nice. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But my intentions was, again, maybe going back to the performing. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to perform. But maybe that was the reason, because I was so used to it and I got good responses. So I was like, maybe this is what I should do. That didn't work out. Well, I say it didn't work out. I just didn't get the grades at school. Yeah. And then I didn't necessarily have the job handed to me. I had to do other jobs. I did some door knocking. Oh my God. So a company was called a marketing company. I was like, this sounds mega.
I've known friends who've worked for the market. Yeah. So I know exactly what did work
on behalf of British Red Cross, and you had a script. And don't worry, we're not trying to sell anything. All we're asking 30p a day. And then you look at your mate, what's that? Packet of crisps.
Yeah.
It's a packet of crisps. You go through it all. And then, so it's 100% commission. I got a $5 from an old lady, but then I felt horrendous. I'm signing up this old lady thinking, this is wrong, but give me a $5. Anyway, so I think it was 8 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, 100% commission. So only a $5 for the day. It's slave labor, really. And then you go back to the office and you all stand around in a circle, lights off, disco ball on, disco lights on. They go, right, who got a sale? Ring the bell. So I have to, first day, go in there, ring a bell, this music, da, 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 and I had to go around high-fiving everyone, Henry. Honestly.
Like Luke Little's entrance.
Oh, yeah, basically. And then all these people.
It's like a game of darts.
It was horrendous. So I called my dad. I did another day and I called my dad. I was like,
I can't do all this.
I don't think I could do this, Dad. He went, well, you ain't got a job waiting for you. Like, we haven't got a job for you, so we can't give you one, which is fine.
That's interesting that happened, though, because I would have thought it'd been like, yeah, don't worry, I've got you.
That, again, I admire him for it completely, and because again, it's the way it looks.
Yeah.
He can't just give me a job.
Of course, yeah.
So when the job opportunity came up, I took it. However, he did say to me when I said, I don't think this is right for me, he went, I did know it wasn't right, but I needed you to make that decision, not me.
Yeah.
So I do admire my dad for a lot of things. However, when it comes to work and business, the difference being is that's just not, it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
And it took me a long enough time to realize it, but I'm so grateful for what it's taught me, these transferable skills, these people skills. I'm so confident when I can go into a room, and it just so helps. Again, this isn't masked confidence now. This is real confidence.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I've got no call to action. I've got no sale. I literally, the confidence that you see is just genuine me being me. Whereas before it'd be, I'm confident because I want you to sign here, please.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that salesman sort of bravado that you've got to put on.
And I would always try and not be a salesman with it, because I've been no one likes to be sold to.
No, absolutely. I get that completely.
So I would be like, hey, I'm not like most guys. You know what I mean? But still sign it.
Yeah. Last time I bought a car, went in, told the guy, I said, I'm interested in this. He went, all right. He said, there's the key. He opened the car up and he just walked off. I'd been to a few places at that point. The second I got onto the lot, people's coming over. Hey, can I help? Can I help? You know,
Sofa shops as well.
Exactly. Sofa. I had that experience only recently with a sofa. The second I walked through the door that was on me, I was like, just fuck off. Sorry, do you know what I mean? So anyway, I had this car, and I came back to him and was talking to him, and I thought, I took it for a test drive. I really liked it, and I did say to him, I said, do you know what the biggest parts of me buying this is the fact that you've not hounded me in any way? And he made the point. He went, well, he said, I've done this for a while now. He said, I think cars will sell themselves. Said, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And it was that moment I thought, you're right there.
Well,
and that is how it should be. Do you know?
You hit the nail on the head. And the reason why I was the way I was when it came to myself, I was a good performer. I used to convert like almost at, I think it was average 47%. So every other house, I'd get on because of the same thing. But when I was 17, buying my first car, I went to a few garages. A guy was complete opposite of that. He was like, I told him what my budget was. He was like, right, okay, but what if you go for the paint insurance? You go for this. I went, mate, I can't. This is the price. And he was like, let me see what I can do. I'll go speak to the boss. Anyway, comes back. He
goes for a piss, comes back.
Exactly. And he goes, right, we could do that. I was like, no, mate, I've told you this. And I remember saying to my mum at the time, I was like, I never want to be like that, and I always made sure, and I've said this to numerous clients as well, like when like, oh, you're not pushing at all. It's like, no one wants to be pushed to. No. As soon as you do, you switch off. It just, the shutters come down, you go, nope.
Yeah.
So I wanted to avoid that. And I think, it's just important, again, just to sort of, I guess, just be genuine. People buy from people.
Authenticity, isn't it? Yeah. And I, like I say, for me, I trusted that particular car salesman so much more because he didn't care if I bought that car or not. Made no difference to him. He just said, do you like it? I went, yeah. He said, that's a nice car.
It's a life skill. Being able to read people, understand them, but not feel like you are being, like I'm not looking at your body language or whatever. It's just doing it naturally because if you actually care about that person, opposite you, then you will just be natural. But if you feel like you're being assessed, you get a bit standoffish. It's like, what are you trying to get from me? What's your agenda? So I do love that side of it, but that was not necessarily learned. That was just, learned through doing, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, yeah. Since quitting alcohol, you've lost over 7 stone and transformed your physical health in a way that clearly has inspired others. At a time when many people attend to medications like Mounjaro for help with weight loss, what does it mean for you that your transformation has come through natural, disciplined lifestyle change? And how has that impacted your mental well-being and identity as well?
So, to put it briefly, I guess the main thing it's taught me is discipline. Because again, it's all, if you can be disciplined in one thing, you can be disciplined in everything. So the weight loss was the first sort of reason, and my why was my wife. So weight loss, I was on this, I've got to do it. I've got to do right for me. I was sick of the way I used to speak to myself in the mirror. And this was again through learning through the therapist. I said some horrible things to myself. I would look at myself and, excuse the language, but I remember I was on a cross trainer at a gym and I just went, you fat fuck, look at that. I was grabbing my rolls and I wouldn't speak to my worst enemy that way. Yeah. So why, and you're meant to be your biggest cheerleader. Why would you speak to yourself that way? And it really used to get me down because, again, I told you about the messages to my PT and whatever. I'd read that and just think I was in such an odd place. But so the discipline, which was, again, I didn't get it overnight. There was many failed times. I used to diet when I was a kid. And again, so going back to, doing it naturally, it's not like I just found a secret formula and it worked.
And that's what people will think, though, won't they? I think when they see someone lose as much weight as they have, you've probably had it like, oh, what did you do? What's your secret? It's like, it's not
people
want. They want a quick fix, don't they?
Yeah, and obviously with your Mounjaro and whatever, I do think that is it can help people. And I'm not here to knock it.
Of course, yeah.
I tried it, and it gave me horrendous heartburn, headaches, lightheadedness. It just didn't work for me. And I tried it just before I went away to Thailand. But really, from a young age, I was always the big kid, and again, from a big family. This isn't anything again on my parents or anything, but there were so many of us. You could just get away with stuff in the sense of...
How many siblings do you have?
So in the house at the time, obviously I've got more, but maximum, there was 7 of us in a house at one point. Okay. But let's say, for instance, there used to be little tricks. So if someone bought in some Pop-Tarts, you would whack them in the back of the cupboard and you would sneak them, you know what I mean? Like hide them in the cornflakes where no one found them or whatever. There would always be...
No one's touching the cornflakes.
That's what I mean. Cocoa Pops now, you've got. But so there's all these little sort of secret things, these secret eating and these habits that you would pick up on. But because of that, my dad, he would try his best. He would try his best to, so he would get us maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and my mum would have us the rest. And he was kind of like trying to, fix it. So he would put us on a bit of a regimented diet, really. We'd have a bit of a food plan. We'd go on bike rides. We would get a personal trainer as a family. It's not it's not on you. However, I don't mind that. I look at that and, I'm not traumatized by that, because at the end of the day, he tried. But one thing that happened when I was younger was we went on a bike ride and we went up this hill, and I was maybe 11, 12. It was in year 7. So you start wanting to get into girls and stuff. And you know what I mean? Like I was sick of being the fat guy, basically. And I remember going up this hill and I was like, anyway, I had to take my helmet off. I was thought I was going to pass out. I remember calling my dad again, and I just said, I'm ready. He went, yeah. I went, yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. And then, so from then on, when it was Easter, when it was Christmas, the deal was, if I got any chocolate, I would give it to him, and he would give me a bit of money for it. It would give me an incentive or whatever. He was really trying to help me get on the straight and narrow, because he knew how important it was. And again, it was not the perception. He wasn't ashamed to have a fat kid or anything. He just knows how the public perceives it. And he knows it's going to make my life difficult if I'm at school and I'm the big kid. Yeah. And he knew how unhappy it was making me. So I look at what he tried to instill in me, whatever, as a positive. Some others, may look at it as an issue because kids or whatever. Nah, there's no point in holding on to that. However, so with that kind of sort of in mind, and I did well. I went through maybe 2 or 3 years of being fit and healthy. I was playing football, rugby at school, and then I would just yo-yo. I would yo-yo all the time and stuff. So I finally made it happen, and I made it work. And I think what I realize is the one thing, the common denominator here, the constant in my life, not necessarily when I was younger, was my relationship with food, obviously how I'd react with it, but it was alcohol. And that's when I started when I moved out of my house, I really put on the weight. Because again, you can do what you want. I can buy what I want. I can buy donuts. No one's telling me anything. And then, so if anyone was to look at what I've achieved I think my weight loss was probably, 9 months I've done that. It's because I had a why, and the why being my wife. And obviously I didn't want us to, be living apart, etc. And something just clicked. I got myself out of a stressful environment somewhere that I didn't feel my purpose aligned with. And I just decided to work on myself, because I had a realization, life is too short. Do I want to look back when I'm 40 or 50 and go, is this all you've done? And I did. I read somewhere, if you were to speak to your 6-year-old self and tell him what you're doing at the moment, would he be happy and proud? And he was like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this, mate? So that was a realization. Okay, I need to sort this out. So it was just quitting the booze, sorting out my diet. So I did a diet plan, etc., which is only meant to be for 6 weeks. We ended up doing it for months. And I say we, me and my wife, she helped, she was really supportive. She decided she wanted to go veggie. I said I'd support her. And then all of a sudden together, we started seeing the difference. We both went vegan. And again, so when you're talking...
Still vegan now as well.
Still vegan, yeah. And honestly, not to preach.
No, of course not.
It's the best decision I've ever made, because again, because I'm doing it for the moral and ethical reasons, I can't deviate from that. So if I'm in a petrol station, I'm in a Greggs, I'm in a Couplands or any bakery, I can't. Yeah. So I went to a all-inclusive chocolate cake. There was everything. Pizza. I love pizza. The vegan cheese ain't that bad. What I think being sober sort of heightens your senses, in my opinion. And also because you get what you're given when you're vegan, it makes everything that little bit nicer, because you haven't got choice. You haven't got 100 choices. You've got 3. So you're going to like it. So it's booze, diet with vegan, and just kind of trusting your instinct, trusting yourself, and not having to question it because of how it's perceived or how it looks. So all of this, when it comes to my weight loss, it's really, I look at it as, I want to say it's commitment, whatever, but it's just the need to want it is so strong because I know how much better I feel. Yeah. It's not just physically, it is mentally. So all of these things out there, Monjaro and everything, I do think there is a place for that, and sometimes it can work for people. But my concern is, what if they got rid of it?
Yeah,
if I'm relying on this thing and they got rid of it, what happens next?
Because I think the one thing that we've talked about really is something being sustainable, and that's the thing. Is that sustainable for the rest of your life to be on Monjaro? See, I don't even know too much about it, to be quite honest.
And I've got to be mindful of that because I don't. And some people have done very well off it. However, what's the overall lasting effects? What if they go, actually, you know what, the formula's a bit different. We need to remove this off the market, or a prescription model. I mean, I don't know if you watch Black Mirror or whatever, but
I've gone in reference to which episode.
So it's one of the most recent ones.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the new ones yet.
But basically, it's like a subscription, right? So imagine a subscription, and this is to save someone's life. And you go, right, you can get subscription A. That's just a low-level subscription. It's like, okay, well, we've seen some side effects. Okay, well, that's fine. We just need subscription B. And then, you need the subscription plus. So imagine like Monjaro Plus, and sorry, you need this jab and that. So my concern is, if you can't...
Where could it go, basically?
If you can't get your head right... I don't think you're really gonna. There'll be quick fixes, which I've done. I've had the yo-yos, I've done the juice diet, I've done everything. However, it would work for a brief period, but until you get your head right, you will just fall back into it, because you need to look at the root problem. What is causing you to eat the way you eat? And again, as I said, emotional eating was it. So once I pinpointed that, got rid of not my emotions, but my stress and what made
triggers
exactly. Yeah. Once I did that, then it was plain sailing from then. And again, it's once you start finding something you enjoy, because I don't like going to the gym on my own. I still don't. I like being, with people. I like running, etc. So, I like to have goals now. So I've done 10K. I've done half marathon. I'm now doing the Berlin Marathon. I'm doing it for Alcohol Change as well. Okay. So,
and did you ever think, thinking back to when you were 7 stone heavier, that you'd ever be able to run for a bus, let alone, a half marathon?
I tried doing caps to 5K during lockdown, and honestly, my back was in bits. I thought it was horrendous. Yeah. So
it is about finding an exercise that you enjoy, isn't it? I think that's the main thing. People are like, I don't like running, it gives me shin splints, and therefore then don't do anything because that one didn't work for me. As opposed to trying, even like I've got friends that play squash and have lost so much weight just by playing squash.
Yeah, honestly, it's if you can find. I remember again looking at the gym when I used to go before I went to Thailand. I remember saying to my mate, so I went with my mate because, again, I like training with people. I remember saying, I was like, I can't wait for the day. I was looking at these machines going, I can't wait for the day I enjoy this. And the fact of the matter is, I still don't fully enjoy the gym on my own. However, I enjoy it a lot more, and I'm a lot more comfortable than what I was, because I learned about what to do and how to do it, because it is quite intimidating. Yeah.
And was your weight a factor in that? Because I've seen things on social media before, and it's like taking a picture of the fat guy in the gym, and it's kind of like, oh, look at this, and almost like it's funny. It's like you're taking a picture of someone that's trying to make some change in their life. Yeah, hilarious.
I know.
So was that ever? I'm not necessarily people taking pictures of you, but was there an element of being the big guy in the gym? Did that naturally make you feel quite conscious, and especially to guys who are absolutely ripped and in incredible shape?
As well, you feel a bit stupid. Like you're trying to do this and what. Yeah, and also you just don't like the way you look, and you just don't like the way it feels. You don't like the atmosphere. It's just all sorts, and it's finding a way when you are feeling lethargic to actually be asked and go there without making all these excuses. Because I used to train in the morning. I'd be like, I can't be bothered. I'd text her, sorry mate, I've got a bad tummy. Back to sleep for an hour or whatever. Like, honestly, the excuses are horrendous.
That should be part of your social media campaign. Just screenshot them.
I've spoken to my old PT, and I want to do a feature on it, because I think it will hit home for a lot of people. It will, because I hope that, again, all I try and do is I want people to see themselves in what I do, and I want them to just sort of be relatable and be that sort of guy that they go, well, I didn't have that sort of encouragement. I didn't have that role model or whatever. And it's not a self-fulfilling thing or anything of being like, I want to be that role model. But I do want to influence them.
And there must be some pressure in the fitness industry, because I think, again, sustainability being the key topic here, it's hard to sell sustainability, but it is easy to sell quick fixes to people. It's easy to sell to someone, lose X amount of stone in 12, 24 weeks or something, it's hard to say, here's this guy after, 3 years and look where he's at now, because people are like, well, 3 years, I ain't got 3 years. I need to get in shape before summer. I've got a holiday. I've got a holiday coming up. And for me, like I did a program myself before. It was like the 36-week physique, and I put on a lot of SARS for it. I felt really good for it. But the second I stopped that program, that muscle mass, everything just fell off me. And I just went back to almost square one, because it wasn't sustainable to be having that amount of protein, that amount of calories, to be training in that way every single day. No. So the long-term thing, that you could argue, yes, you've learnt lessons in there.
You've got to make it a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle
exactly.
choice.
Lifestyle choice,
You've got to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got to find something that works for you. But it's not a quick fix. It's a mind shift, a mindset shift, sorry. And something just went. And I think it's do you want to live your life regretting it? I was just sick of being the butt of the joke, if I'm being completely honest. It was people.
You said earlier about being laughed at and laughed with, didn't you?
People would say it. They would say jokes about my weight and whatever, and I would shrug it off because I'm a bit like, well, they're not wrong. You know what I mean? Like, friends of mine would doubt me, and that's also what kind of encouraged me to do what I did. I say friends, I don't really talk to them anymore. But I overheard them basically saying, "Do you reckon he's actually going to do it? Do you reckon?" And I was in earshot, and another friend, again, don't talk to him, but he was like, he can hear you, and I was like, nah, it's fine, mate. Considering my track record, I get it. They're fine to say that. So I'd always put myself down there rather than go, hang about, mate. Let me fucking show you. You know what I mean? So, however, I did show him. Well,
yeah, and like you said, you talked about how you'd obviously look at yourself in the mirror, grab your rolls and stuff. I imagine there's nothing that people could say that you haven't said 6 inches from the mirror to yourself. Do you know what I mean? If you can have that sort of thing to yourself, fucking water for ducks back, what other people say, I suppose, in some respects, isn't it?
And it's quite such a negative world to be in, really, if you think about it, because, you can't hurt me. And like, I would be, again, self-deprecate, isn't it? You'd be the first person to put yourself down. It's a bit like, I don't know, the way I always explain it, like having a massive spot on the end of your nose and going, oh God, I've got this shit. It's like, I know you've seen it. I know what you think. It's there.
I'm saying it before you can say something.
I'm owning this. Yeah. So it's the whole thing like, oh God, I struggled to get out of bed this morning, or wow, I don't know, whatever it is. So it's that kind of, I'm going to put myself down before you can, because I'm going to take ownership.
Yeah, I get that. Thinking about alcohol, you've created Alcohol Free as a sober social movement for Hull. What was the inspiration behind launching something community-driven from your personal recovery journey?
So what I realised is I think a lot of people and I've got to be careful with this, with sobriety, because I didn't necessarily hit rock bottom, as I said to you before. I just realised I needed to make a change, and alcohol was part of that change. Yeah. So I appreciate there are people with bigger issues, and I don't think,
subjective. I always say this is subjective. One person's rock bottom is just Tuesday to somebody else. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I don't think you need to be hitting the depths of despair to be considering that a rock bottom. I think if something has happened, which I could say that person, that friend of yours in quotation, saying, "Oh, he won't do it," that could have been your rock bottom. Yeah, that could have been your moment of, this is the lowest I have felt about my weight and about my alcoholism, that I'm going to make a change.
Quite possibly, and there will be other moments. And to be honest, because it is somewhat traumatic, there's probably been other times that I don't even remember, and because I've probably just blacked out of my head, or I was too drunk and I don't remember
it happening. Yeah.
So I created it basically to take ownership, really, rather than feel like a victim through sobriety, rather than or a victim through being alcohol free or sober curious. Because I'm not saying this isn't just for the sober. This isn't a come over here just sobers only. It's for people dipping the toe in and wanting to try it and see if the world exists. Because what happened was, during Dry Jan, I was meant to be running an event locally in Hull. It was like a Q&A about sobriety and stuff, and I was teaming up with this life coach coming over from Canada, a guy who helped me, my life coach, and he was doing like a digital nomad thing, so he was coming over to the UK. So we priced up the tickets and stuff, and they priced them too high. It was January. They were 15 quid a ticket. Who wanted to listen to me talk? You know, I know people are now, but it's free.
It's free. It's the difference.
So basically, they just didn't sell. All right.
Yeah.
So they didn't sell. And rather than get myself down in the dumps about it, I was like, okay, well, let's pick myself up. And because of what I've been doing online, me and this other lady got in touch, another local lady. And we said, well, why don't we do like an after dry Jan thing? So anyone who's still thinking of continuing it, we could do like a bit of a sober social. So I organised the first one, called it Alcohol Free. I thought it was quite a powerful message, and it went well, you know. And we just sat down, just shared our stories and stuff. It was a bit more formal than what I'd anticipated, but there was maybe 13 of us and stuff. And then we did the next one, and then we've done bowling or whatever. But the reason and my inspiration for it was, I wanted to sort of take ownership of these places that people tend to avoid when they're trying to be sober. It's like, no, we exist as well. Yeah. They've got fantastic options, some amazing alcohol-free cocktails, some fantastic beers.
So much better than it used to be, isn't it? It used to be Beck's Blue.
I've mentioned it so many times. I can't stand
Chemical piss is what I'd call it. But in comparison to, say, Corona Zero, which I'm a big fan of.
It's just lovely. Like the real thing. So what I was initially doing, I did the Sober Social, but I was also doing called the Alcohol Free series. So I'd visit places. So I would do like a little walking tour. Hi guys, I'm checking this out. They've got this on offer. You know, just because you're not drinking doesn't mean you can't go out. And this was during dry Jan. Yeah. So it's just, the reason why I was doing it is to sort of highlight, it was getting me out as well. It was taking ownership of my position with it as well, because I wanted to show that I could have a good time too. It was an excuse for me to see my sister, because I was doing it with my sister as well. So she was like doing the videoing and stuff, which was really cute. And then it was also helping the hospitality sector. My brother, he's got his own place as well, so he was the first person to let me do it, and it performed really well. I got some really good feedback. And then my name started to get out there as kind of like the sober guy in the Hull, really, and sort of taking ownership of rather victimizing it and go, okay, well, we're over here, you can't join us. It's now come along, but I want you to go to these places. I want you to enjoy these places. They need your help just as much as anyone else, but buy their alcohol-free options, and we can still, you know, take ownership, take pride in your position of being sober, because it's such a powerful message. And I've influenced someone recently. So basically, he was a trainer of mine at like I go to this fitness boot camp, and we were just walking, talking, whatever. We walked past this pub, and he said to me, I was like, oh, do you ever go in there? Sorry. And he was like, oh yeah, they do a really good carling. I was like, that doesn't exist. So basically we were chatting, and he went, what about you? I went, nah, I don't drink, mate, I'm sober. And I just said it with so much conviction. I was just like, boom. I didn't think anything of it, because I'm proud to be sober. So anyway, carried on walking. And at the end of, because you do like a checkout and stuff, and he said to me, he was like, by the way, mate, what's that app you were telling me about? So there's this app called I Am Sober. Anyway, it tells you how much you've saved and what you've done. And I told him, he was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I went, what? He went, yeah, I'm going to go sober. He went, you inspired me. I was like, what? I didn't even try. And he said the reason being is because of how proud I was. You know, normally it's a stigma. I was like, oh, don't drink, sorry, or I'm worried about what's in my glass. It's like, nah, I'm sober. I'm fucking happy about it.
And I think as well with that, some people, when they say they're sober, people instantly think that they've experienced some really low depths of alcoholism or alcohol dependence as well. Like, it's interesting to see people say, oh, I'm sober, but not have had not, you know, skating around the topic a little bit, like, oh, I'm an alcoholic, so I think I'm sober, and having that hesitation to say all that shame, and as you said, that stigma to say it, but to say it with such conviction.
I think people assume sober, okay, what, you've been to AA?
You know, exactly. Yeah, there's that notion
bench,
of it. Yeah,
drinking
Frosty Jacks sort of thing.
Whatever. So
tenant supers.
Well, exactly that. And look, you will have seen it.
Of course, yeah.
So for me, really, it's like, no, I decided to cut it out, and I'm reaping the benefits. And without blowing too much smoke, it's hard to argue when anyone saw me a couple of years ago to where you see me now. They can't question it. You know, I get some fit people do drink, and I completely understand that. But some people it doesn't work for, and I'm being one of them. So if someone was to ever question my position with it, which they don't, because I've taken full ownership of it, and they just know it's falling on deaf ears. However, if they were to, it's like, sorry, but, you know.
So I mean, I have such a strange relationship with alcohol in a sense of, like, right now in my fridge at home, I've got some alcohol-free Moretti's. Now, I don't drink, But I found it hard to give myself that label of being sober because, it's like dry January, for instance. If I did dry January, I would want to have a drink because I'm telling myself I can't drink.
You're punishing yourself.
I'm punishing myself. Whereas if I just ignore it, like I can't tell you last time I had a pint. It's been maybe a couple of months now. But if I realise that, or if I said, I'm not drinking this month, it's in my mind.
It's that deadline, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like I used to do dry Jan. That, again, tried and failed many times. But I'd do dry Jan, and then clock strikes 12, I'd have a pint sat there waiting for me because it's like, all right, I've done it now. I've raised 100 quid for cancer research, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, done.
Can have a drink, That's the reward for being alcohol-free, is alcohol,
And, but so the issue with dry Jan is a month is not enough to see the rewards.
Yeah.
So when people try it, they go, I was expecting to lose weight. I was expecting to feel a lot better. I ain't done anything. Because you're probably replacing it with sugar.
Yeah.
You're probably snacking more. Again, you're not going out, so you're probably eating more. It's like, I won't go, you're having alcohol-free beers. They're not calorie-free. They're lighter.
They're lighter, but they're still there,
They're still there,
No, I completely agree with that. I think one of the interesting ones that I found in terms of that sobriety Brewdog in Princess Key, I ordered the Punk alcohol-free version, and obviously it says Punk AF 0% or whatever it was, or low percent alcohol. And the guy behind the bar is like, "You do know this hasn't got alcohol in it?" I was like, "Yes, that's why I've ordered it," sort of thing. Do you know? Anyway, we obviously got it. And what I found interesting, though, what I liked about that is it was a Christmas night out with my mates, and we'd stop there. But it was served in a normal pint glass. So I'd had about 4 or 5 of these Punk alcohol-frees. And when it came to leaving, there was one about, I'll get a taxi bus. I was like, I'll drive, mate. It's like, no, you can't, you've been drinking. I was like, no, I said, I've been alcohol-free. And none of them even knew because of the way it was served.
It's how they perceive it, isn't it?
And I think sometimes part of it, it's not like a massive issue, but if I go out... so there was a wedding a couple of nights ago that I went to, and had an alcohol-free beer, and it's like, oh, you're not
in
drinking.
A bottle.
Yeah. It's like, you're not drinking. And obviously, no, I'm not. I'm driving. I've got my daughter.
Having it on draft. Do you not think there's something quite ceremonial about it as well? It's like I'm having a pint.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I am trying my best by doing what I'm doing and highlighting these places and stuff. So every time there's somewhere on draft, I'll put it on my Instagram story. I'll share it because it
very rarely comes in draft, does it? Alcohol-free beer.
So there's a fantastic one round the corner. Honestly, I'll tell you after. Honestly, no, but it is because I met up with an old friend of mine. He hadn't seen me for 2 years. He walked past me. He didn't even recognise me, which is quite nice. So he sank about 4 or 5 Guinnesses, and I was having Kronenberg on draft. I wasn't a massive Kronenberg fan anyway. It's beautiful. Honestly, four pints I'd had. And he was getting a bit more he wasn't drunk or anything, but I was keeping up, and that was great. I could drive home, and it was lovely. It was that liberating feeling, that freedom. And also, it's testing yourself in these situations. Like, you don't need it, but sometimes people become so accustomed to it, feeling like it's that sort of crutch to have a good time or whatever. But you're right. Once you give yourself that label, it's like, oh God, what if I slip and do have a beer? Like, I wouldn't say I've shot myself in the foot, because there's no benefits to me as far as I'm concerned to drinking again. If I'm not here to tell people not to drink, it's not my place. Alcohol will always
And the more
exist.
you tell people not to do something, the more likely they may want to do it anyway. So I always say it's never a good idea to say don't do something. It's about alternatives. Like, why don't you try that?
And you see it on, see it all the time in the AF world, where people are like, well, it's got this many carcinogenics in it. It's got this. It's like, don't tell me that. No, I don't want to hear that. Just all that. Again, what I'm trying to do is not be preachy about it. Lead by example. And if anyone wants to, basically leave the light on for anyone who wants to listen and to see it. And as I said, if they don't, move on. So,
absolutely. Working for a very successful business, and now on your own, doing things on your own. I guess, what does success mean to you today after everything you've changed, and how do you define the legacy that you want to leave, both as a business leader and as a sober voice in Hull too?
So success is not money. It's legacy. It's just really we're on this spinning rock at the end of the day, and we are just molecules, whatever, however which way you want to say it. And we're nothing, really, in 100 years, no one's going to remember us.
Of course, yeah.
So really, trying to think of your overall legacy, yes, it's easy to think, okay, well, what's that? What did I do and how will people remember me? The truth of the matter is they're not going to. Eventually you'll just be that great grandson or whatever of someone. So really it's purpose without getting too spiritual. It's okay, well, whilst you are here, what can you do to make you feel good? Why live a life of negativity serving other people when you can serve yourself by helping other people? But regardless, that's how I want to do it. That's how I'm choosing to do it. But so it might look different for someone else. But my view on success is, what can I do to help as many people as possible not be in a rut, not be stuck, because I felt like that's where I was. And with regards to money, and I don't care for a big house, I don't care for anything, and that might surprise people because of my upbringing, etc. But I think that's probably one of the reasons why I am privileged enough to be able to say that, and I get that, and I'm very mindful of that. However, it just doesn't drive me, and it never did. Before, the money, or, I could have just coasted and had the fine hotels and whatever. And, I dabbled in that. I gave it a try because, again, you lead by, you're influenced by your peers and stuff, and you see what they've done and think, okay, well, that's the high life. Yeah. It's not. For me, I just want to do what makes me feel good, and what makes me feel good is helping people. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how that looked. But when I did some work on myself, my purpose was to help, and I didn't know if that was sobriety, I didn't know if that was veganism, I genuinely didn't know. Just so happens, by throwing enough shit at the wall, eventually something will stick, and what stuck is this. And it's just falling, it's creating more. So I want basically to be that guy locally. If it grows, great, but the more it grows, the more, yes, you're helping people, however, there's only one of you, so if it goes to the point where you're stretching yourself too thin, if I just stayed in Hull and I could help people of Hull, that's enough. I love my home. I love where I live. I love my life.
There's no pressure to get out of the city for me. Like a lot of people say, oh, if you live there, you're in yeah.
Me and my wife,
I love it here.
We love our house. I absolutely I love the life that I've got. I've got my nieces, my nephews, my family all around me. Why would I want to leave and isolate myself around people? I've got good people around me. So, and I love Hull. I love that we're the underdogs, and I bring it on in a way, and because we might be a little bit behind in certain ways, but I think that gives you more chance to grow. Whereas if we were up at the top like London, you're just a small fish.
Down to go,
small fish in a big pond. Whereas you can be a big fish in a small pond, really. And I'm not saying that as a self-fulfilling way. I mean, my voice can be louder here, and that means I can help more people. So success is just really leaving my stamp on how many people did I help? What, how did I go about it? Am I genuine? Am I a good person at heart? And I'll never question, my intentions, because from an outsider looking in, what am I doing? I'm just trying to help, one way or another. I wish one day I can make this into a business. I wish that one day I can make it maybe into a charity of some sort. But at the moment, this is all my own money going into this, because I care about it, and I care about wanting to help people. These people that my sober socials have become friends because of what I've created. They see each other out of that, and that's exactly what I wanted. So it's the beauty of that. Enough. You could give me 100 grand now. It wouldn't change my life. It wouldn't do anything. And I know I'm worried, obviously, how that might come across.
No, I get it. Look, at the end of the day, if money was everything, then we wouldn't see celebrities with addiction issues, or, it's not. It's such deep rooted. And I think, funny enough, I'm glad we're kind of talking about this now, because I saw a colleague, an ex-colleague earlier, and he said, he's still there? And I went, yeah, absolutely. He was like, all right. He said, I thought you'd have left by now. I was like, no, I said, I've been there. I said, just celebrating 10 years there. It's like 10 years. And it was said with such sort of like,
what, you haven't moved on.
Yeah, you haven't moved on. And I was thinking, and it annoyed me a little bit, because at the end of the day, for me, when you talk about success, I never dread work on a Sunday night. How many people do I know that dread work on a Sunday night, dread the following week? I never dread work. Every night I just think, I get to go do that tomorrow. Yeah. Like last night I was thinking, I get to do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Mate, I was saying to my wife, I was buzzing. I was honestly like, but I never had that before.
Yeah.
And I honestly used to look at my diary and I used to read the comments, say like what type of client I mean. I used to feel sick because sometimes I would just blag it. I didn't know what I was going into. So whereas now, like I'm making videos. I remember my wife, she was playing on the PlayStation last night. And so sometimes that's it. She'll just hone in and I'm like, are you busy? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to do my videos. And because like, obviously it was past, we say cut off like 5 or 6 because I don't want to eat in too much into the evening, but she was occupied and I was like, I'm going to do my videos. I know it's work. I went, but I love it. Yeah. Like I really enjoy it.
And I suppose I imagine there's an element of her now. Before, when you was doing the social media stuff with the family business, it was like, oh, you're doing that. Whereas I imagine when she's seen you doing this though, it's a little bit less, oh, why are you doing that?
She sees what I'm building.
She sees it more as you're doing something positive. It's not. It's self-serving. It isn't serving something else and something different.
She sees it as a positive. She's also a part of it as well. She, I go to her with all the advice and stuff, and she helps me run the socials and whatnot. She's mega. So it's. Although she doesn't want me to overwork myself, and I can be, I can do that, but.
But that'll be ingrained into you from I suppose working in that again, as we said, a family business and being part of that family.
But this feels different just because I enjoy it and it's doing good. In meaning I am doing good for people and myself. I feel naturally doing it, and I think my energy, from what I do and what I post and whatever doing this, I hope that comes through because it is just. I just love it. And, being able to be creative and not feel like you're under anyone's control, it's a lovely, lovely feeling. Yeah. And so to be able to work, and I don't see this as work because at the end of the day, I'm not making any money yet. Yeah. However, I said, I'm fortunate that with my property background, I've got investment,
you can afford to do this, can't you?
That's it. Yeah. So, however.
And you recognise that is a luxury as well. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. And, because look, at the end of the day, this is something I've always been self-aware. Like I
can see that. To be fair, the one thing that I did think when I got told I was speaking with you today, I was like, I wonder how self-aware he is, or in terms of understanding how lucky he is to be in the position that he's in. And I think you've shown that.
Thank you.
It's not. I don't think there's. Not that I thought you'd have been entitled or anything like that, but none of that is there. Do you know what I mean? I think that'd be quite an easy perception of yourself to make, knowing the family business and who you are in your background, but you are very self-aware.
No, and again, I do have my dad to thank for that to a certain degree. But now,
well, again, it's the things you've talked about your dad. He sounds like he's always been very present. He sounds like he's been involved, and he sounds like he's kind of done right by you as well. I admire him a lot, and I think he did the best he could because when I've got to know him, obviously a bit older, and I say got to know him, it's weird. I get exactly what you mean. Knowing your parents as adults is different, isn't it? Because you know them as almost human beings as opposed to being just a parent.
So one of his things when he was like, look, one of my regrets is, having as many of you as I did because I haven't had that one-on-one time that maybe
get lost in the shuffle. Yeah.
However, he said I did the best I could and I still continue to do so. We have some amazing times. Me, my brother, my dad, we go on bike trips. We go to Holland, Germany, just on the bicycles. We get the ferry. Honestly, priceless moments. And, so I really, really love those times. And that's when I get that one-on-one time with him where I can have these conversations. And so one thing he said, though, and what really hit home for me, he said, you've got to appreciate my dad, his dad, was of the Victorian era. So you can see the values and the way showing emotions wasn't really there. So you can imagine that was then passed on to then him. So you've got this after effect of a Victorian era basically being passed on to his parenting style as well. So certain bits where he may have fallen short, there's no textbook. You can't read this, so really I don't look at anything of what anyone's done. At the end of the day, you are your own person. There's no point going, well, my parents did this. I get there is certain trauma out there and certain people can be horrible, but I'm so, so lucky to have the family that I've got, to be surrounded, to have the job, to have the luxury of, learning all of those things. Yeah. It just so happened to be that it just didn't work for me. But I admire everything he's done for me.
Brilliant. Henry, thank you so much for joining me on Believing People. I'd just like to finish these podcasts with a series of quick-fire questions unrelated to what we've spoken about so far. My first question is, what's your favourite word?
Word.
I love how much this throws people.
Just one.
Just one word, yeah.
Sound.
Least favourite word?
Moist.
Tell me something that excites you.
Alcohol-free beers.
Tell me something that doesn't excite you.
Tomatoes.
What sound? What sound or noise do you love?
When you're cutting wrapping paper and the scissors glide nicely.
Okay, thanks. What sound or noise do you hate?
My tummy rumbling.
What's your favourite swear word?
It's got to be cunt.
Nice. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, I would like to attempt singing.
What profession would you not like to do?
Gardening.
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Legend.
Thank you so much for joining me on Believe in People, Henry. And if you've enjoyed this episode of the Believe in People podcast, we'd love for you to share it with others who might find it meaningful. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and leaving a review will help us reach more people and continue challenging stigma around addiction and recovery. For additional resources, insights and updates, explore the links in this episode description. And to learn more about our mission and hear more incredible stories, you can visit us directly at believeinpeoplepodcast.com.